Hey guys, my name is Jason with Mount Baker Mining and Metals, and today we're going to be running some samples through our new 34 by 24 scrap hammer mill. So let's get it fired up and check it out.
I think so.
So here are those two alternators and starters that we put in. And really the only reason to pre-shred those is to take out this big steel. These big pieces of steel really hinder your ability to finely shred this up and liberate the copper and the steel. And so by pre-shredding, you can liberate all this big steel, have someone on a picking conveyor picking it out, and then have all this stuff go through one of our smaller scrap lines with a much smaller screen, and all of this copper and these small steel plates and the cast aluminum can be liberated and then separated by a magnet, and you can get the ferrous and non-ferrous separated. So that's why a good example of why you would pre-shred motors, alternators, starters, anything with big pieces of steel to get that out, and then you can further process this with another machine. Okay, so here's our dirty brass that went through the hammer mill. And if you run this under a mag belt and you get somebody picking, you can clean up a lot of clean brass from all that stuff that wasn't worth very much. So here's our cast aluminum through our bigger hammer mill. And again, this is with a 4-inch square hole, but you can see it broke up the cast aluminum off that motorcycle wheel here, the springs and stuff. There was stuff out of the chainsaw housing you can see here. There's that little electric motor that came out of that sander that we liberated. And so we broke up and liberated, there's that piece of steel off that car part. But we liberated a whole bunch of clean aluminum now that can be sorted, picked, and we've upgraded the value quite a bit. So here's those PC towers, and you got all this steel came really pretty clean, and then you've got all the pieces of boards and small wires and stuff. So that broke them up pretty good.
And then surprisingly, all the casing material and steel around the power supplies, it really came out nice and clean. Get it out with the mag separator. And there's probably some hand picking here to be done, but it really separates all the different components really quite well.
So here's our transformers, and we ran them through a 4-inch hole. In this situation is a pre-shredder, so now they can be run through a smaller hammer mill and across the mag belt. But the other option would be put a smaller screen in this hammer mill so you can run a large single piece, but then have it liberate and separate all the copper and the steel from each other, and then run it under a mag belt. I think the biggest transformer we ran today was about 22 pounds. So we can actually, run a large piece of scrap metal all at one time through a 1-inch screen, liberate all the copper and the steel, and it's a one-pass system. So I wanted to take a minute here and go over our new 34 by 24-inch hammer mill. And the measurement on that is a 34-inch swing of the hammers, and then the case is 24 inches wide. And we've been hearing from a lot of guys over the years that they really needed a larger machine than our 24 by 16-inch hammer mill because they wanted to do larger meatballs, larger transformers, computer towers, things that were either just bulky or that weighed up to 15 to 20 pounds. And so we designed this larger hammer mill for that. Right now, and for our demonstration today, we showed it as kind of a pre-shredder with a large screen, 4-inch holes, to just beat up the stuff, liberate as what we could, but really the primary goal of a pre-shredder is to liberate some of the larger steel pieces such as the shafts, the larger pieces out of those transformers and starters and alternators that you can then pick out before they run into a smaller machine such as our smaller 24 by 16-inch scrap line. So this unit is powered by a 100 horse electric motor, and then across here the feed side is about 12 feet high, and so for this demonstration we fed it by hand, but in a real production environment you'd have a feed conveyor going up and feeding the hammer mill, and then the material would come down through, and we have this chute here that will discharge also onto a conveyor belt that you could mount a magnetic separator over or carry the material off to some picking conveyors so guys could manually separate the material coming out of the hammer mill. So we've taken the cover off the hammer mill, and there's the screen. Those are those 4-inch holes. And this is the rotor, and we have 2 rows of hammers. Here's 1 row and the other row's on the other side. But this row has 3, and then on the other side there's 4 hammers that are staggered. They're offset from these 3. And here's the hammers we're using. They're manganese steel. And there's the discharge chute down there. So there's the inside. I believe this is a 5.5 or 6-inch shaft, big double spherical roller bearings here, and the whole mill has armor around the outside of the case so that you can replace it once it wears, and when stuff goes in it just gets beat up, comes out the bottom. So just real quick, I wanted to show you guys, here's an example of our 24 by 16-inch scrap line. This is our heavy-duty 24 by 16-inch hammer mill. Discharges down onto a conveyor belt, and then the material comes up the conveyor belt under a magnetic separator. And you can set the system with the larger hammer mill up in exactly the same way. I just wanted to give you guys a visual example of what we have for our smaller systems and how you can set up the bigger hammer mill. And in future videos, we'll have the complete line set up so you guys can see the whole process from start to finish. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video today of our new 34 by 24 inch hammer mill. We ran several different samples that we get asked a lot about from customers. But if you guys as the viewer have any samples you'd like to see run through our bigger hammer mill, please let us know by either a phone call, an email, or you can leave a comment on this video. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.